Welcome, everybody, to episode 38 of How to Become a Sales Warrior podcast. I'm your host, Eddie Pods, my co-host,
Mark Simson.
Mark, why are we here today?
Well, happy to see you, Ed. Happy Monday.
Happy to see you, too.
So we are here, Ed, to share our experience. We're normal, everyday guys. We're not one of those podcasts that sit and talk about how to do family offices and crazy millions of dollars and whatnot. We've worked our way, and what we've tried to do is show tips and strategies to the younger generation, how to grind your way through, maybe get a little lucky here or there, and take good positive steps going forward.
Well, I'm excited because we have a very special guest here with us, Clive Burton. Say hi, Clive.
Hello, everybody.
Clive's coming in from North Carolina. There are very few men in my life that I have looked up to, admired, or were mentors in some capacity. Two of them are here in the room, and the other one's in North Carolina, too, who I'll introduce you to one day. People who have really made a difference in my life and where I am. I wouldn't even be here today. This gentleman right here. If he doesn't hire me to come work for Pods, Eddie Pods never happens, the podcast never happens, the book never happens. So, grateful to you, buddy.
Glad to be part of the team, brother.
All right, so we love to start off with some fun. Sports is our conversation. What was your best sport moment of the weekend?
I think the Giants have a quarterback.
Yeah, man.
I'm skipping baseball right now because it just disgusts me, but I think the Giants have a quarterback.
They used a word to describe him, and it's in Chapter 6 of my book. Actually, Chapter 1. He has the it factor.
He seems
to use that,
yeah.
And as soon as I read it in the paper, I wrote it down, the it factor.
You know what? They did something smart, too. The fact that there's no pressure him to play at all.
Right.
And the fact that even if Russell gets hurt, you got Winston there, and then Dart. So I think there's really no pressure, and it seems like it's a good quarterback room compared to the nonsense we saw the last several years.
And I love Scatterboo.
Everyone
Gotta love the Scatterboo. What about you, Clive? You have a sport moment of the weekend for you?
Yeah, I was in the process of driving up here from our place in Florida this week, so I didn't get a chance to really get involved in any games, but I did see one of the rookies on the Bucks. God, what was his name?
It wasn't Deion's son, right?
No.
He got taunted by one of the Buffalo Bills, and he got tricked into punching him.
Oh, it was Deion's son.
Thinking he's swinging her in the face.
Yeah, it's Deion's son.
I thought to myself, man, and the guy turned around and just went, that guy. And they, of course, they got chucked out of the game. But I thought to myself, you got to play your game very, very smartly.
Yep.
They sucked you right into that.
Yep. That's Deion's son who you're talking about.
So we're going to jump into Chapter 7, and I kind of curtailed this to some of the things that I learned from Clive from the early on. And this is Chapter 7, the chapter about pods. And as a leader, it was a valuable lesson. Work hard, play harder. And he meant it. So when we went out to conferences and we went out to events, we worked our asses off during the time you had to be there. But then afterwards is when the real fun started. Mm-hmm. And everything that I ever did in interaction with Clive, whether it was in corporate, in Vegas, anywhere, that was the momentum we carried. And it always made such a big difference in the team spirit, continuity, putting up some competition out there, and making it like you want to be here. And one of the things he said to me when he hired me was, if I'm going to hire you, you got to promise me one thing. Act like this is your business and run it that way.
Right.
Clive, I don't know if you remember saying that to me, but I took that literally. And, a lot of my peers have come and gone, but 15 years later, it still stands right there in front of me. It's my business to run. It's my business to fuck up. It's my business to fix. It's my business to make successful.
Well, it's a testament to leadership, too, because if leadership basically motivates you to act that way, like it's part of your business or it's your business, and then he created that, that's a huge component of leadership.
And the other thing that he did was he fought for us. He had to battle the board at all times to get us compensated to what we wanted to be compensated. He always fought for us. Right. And you knew that. You knew that because there were battles that he lost, and he got his ass hammered, and he had to come back and tell us these things, and it was like he'd go right back to him again.
Right, true team building.
True team building, absolutely. So the action statement from it is, from everything that I learned from you and John Bournmill. You remember John? I know you remember John.
Oh, yeah.
John and I have remained really good friends over the past 15 years. Listen to the advice, listen to the direction, and follow it. Because if you follow people who know more than you, if you listen to people who know more than you, who've already done it, who've already experienced it, they were trying to help me. Like we're trying to do right now,
right.
They were trying to help me.
Sometimes you don't realize when people are trying to help.
Oh,
you.
hell no.
And that's what you would say to the younger gen, get your head out of your ass.
Get your head out of your ass.
And there's people actually that have been there and made all those mistakes.
And the worst part for me right now is, and not to flatter you, Clive, but I haven't had a leader since he left in 2018. I've had a bunch of figureheads.
I think I think it's very high praise when you say that about Clive, because I never heard, you don't throw those words around lightly.
I do not.
And I think one of the challenges as we get older, and I hate to say that word, older, but it's, you find, a couple weeks ago you saw one of my mentors, but it's harder to find those people that really make a difference. And you don't realize, like Clive, is you go back 15 years, whatever it is, and here you are saying, listen, this is still a guy that made a big difference. Yeah. And there hasn't been a Clive since.
Hasn't been a Clive since. And it's frustrating for me because I keep seeing people put in a position who are supposed to lead me, and
don't even get me started on this.
Don't
even get me started. Yeah,
yeah, you're right.
I don't want like that. I come from a different world with that, and I see all that nonsense all the time. How smart everybody is and whatnot. Yep.
Follow my vision. Okay. Well, Clive, just so you know, I'm still following your vision, and I've hit $6 million for the past 3 years. Andy, my next closest guy, just cracked $3 million. So I'm still double up on everybody else.
Good for you, man.
It's a tribute to you. All right, we're going to jump into a trade show tip. This comes out of my first time in Vegas. Clive kindly invited most of the team to, I think it was Montego Bay. We had a 3-day show, and I think there were 6 of us, including him. And one of the first things I learned on day 1, it's divvy up the day. You're not going to spend your entire day in front of this booth.
Yep.
You're not going to hide in your room. You're not going to walk the floor. You're going to do all of it. So we're going to have 2 guys on, 2 guys off, 2 guys walking. It just made so much sense.
Divide and conquer, yeah, sure.
There was always 2 guys at the table. There were 2 guys out hunting. 2 guys were working in the office. Rotate.
Right.
2 hours later, we all rotate.
Right.
And it was so valuable because the table was always manned. There was always people there to engage with. But you had your spies, your teammates, out searching, looking, meeting, introducing, getting to know people.
Right.
So that tip still proves very, very well, Clive. I still do that, even though most times it's 3 or less.
Right.
What's your trade show tip?
Well, I'm going to be at GSX September 29th and 30th in Nolens, New Orleans. Nolens. And my trade show started already. Right, because we're basically booking dinners, have our itinerary. So when I get there, I don't want to really think. I want to follow the plan already, and then be able to be flexible to have meetings or something. Most of my stuff happens in the hallway. Right. So we're working the trade show, but in essence, we're setting up the meetings in advance. So be prepared. We've said this several times now on the podcast, but be prepared. And your trade show doesn't start when the trade show starts. It starts way before it.
Absolutely. Clive, you got a networking tip? I'm sorry, trade show tip, sorry.
You know what, just to go off of what you said, it's mind-boggling to me when I look at companies today. They don't want to invest in the infrastructure or the personnel or the expense when they go to a trade show, that they don't grasp and seize every opportunity. And by doing 6 people at a show, yeah, it was expensive. It was very expensive. But when I'm pulling back umpteen leads, more than any of the other companies that are going out there, it more than paid for itself. When we were doing the Pods business, we were running 38 to 42% year-over-year growth every single year. And that's with a 60% churn, knowing that 60% of your business goes away because it's all project-driven. So if you've got a 20% increase on top of your prior year, your nut is now 80%.
Right.
Going and investing those monies in the trade shows and doing those hunters, going out there, working the floor, And, you know, my role as the supervisor of my band of merry men, I was fluid the whole day, whether it was meeting somebody for lunch, meeting someone for dinner, meeting someone for a drink in the afternoon with the national guy or the regional guy. I mean, my dance card was very, very full. But we always came away with good results, strong activities. But, you know, going to a trade show, I was thinking of this earlier, Eddie, it's almost like going to the gym. You wrench your body. You don't, just because you went to the gym one day does not mean you get to stay in peak physical fitness for 6 months. You got to do it, have a set regimen, daily, weekly, and you got to repeat, wash, rinse, repeat. It's the same thing in sales.
Yeah.
Yep.
The game of numbers, and you got to show up every day, and you got to have a good attitude, and you got to smile, and we'll talk more about that later. But it's self-driven. It's not rocket science by any stretch of imagination.
You know, Clive, you said something that makes a lot of sense. A lot of companies are scared. Putting 6 people, 8 people at a booth at a trade show is expensive. And it can't help but resonate. Something one of our guests said recently, if you believe a little, then you might as well believe a lot. And that's exactly kind of you're pointing at, and it's interesting as we do this.
Yeah, so the last guest, he's like, if I'm going to go do a show, I'm going to take a sponsorship. Otherwise, why the hell should I be here?
Right. I'm not putting my toe in. I'm jumping full in.
Jumping all in.
Yep.
All right.
And, you know, it doesn't that 6 people doesn't apply for every show.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah,
No,
understood.
that was
Ones that
understood.
make
Yeah.
sense where you can include customer calls, customer meetings, customer luncheons, team dinners, and you're planning an outreach campaign. You can get all those together, then you have to apply your infrastructure to man it correctly to get the results.
All right, we hit the end of our first segment, and we're going to head into tequila time, Clive. We're going to take a quick 5-minute break. Then we're going to come back. My brother-in-law, Johnny, he's going to have your tequila shot. You're not here. I had to bring someone to drink that glass, so we're going to take a quick 5. Stay where you are. Everybody, episode 38 of How to Become a Sales Warrior. I'm your host, Eddie Pods, co-host
Mark Simpson,
and guest Clive Burton. We are at the time of tequila time, so we're just going to toast and then we'll talk about tequila time. Johnny, thanks for filling in for Clive. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Clive.
My pleasure.
So tequila time is something about the past, that the way we did something to how we do it now, the future. A lot of times it's been tech related, and this is totally tech related. So I'm planning this Tequila Tuesday. There's going to be about 85 companies at the yard. I was trying to plan a music list. No band this year, no DJ. Remember the old days of making a mixtape?
It would take so long. Right?
Or burn a CD?
Yeah, it takes so long, yeah.
My daughter went on Spotify,
Boom.
said, I need 4 to 5 hours of music all related to drinking. She sent this playlist to me, and every frickin' song is about beer, tequila, booze, whiskey, and now it's on my phone, and I just have to press play, connect the speaker, and I have music for the next 5 hours.
Yep.
Like, just kids today wouldn't even know what a cassette tape is.
And how long you had to have multiple devices.
Oh, it was crazy.
Yep,
it was crazy. So anyway, that was my old and new, and it's so relevant because it literally took her an hour to piece it all together. And I had the privilege of laying in the pool, checking off which songs I liked, didn't like. It was kind of neat.
Right.
So pretty awesome.
But can I give you a little jump in on it?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Yeah. So again, financially, we put together financial statements in Excel. Typically takes a long time. We make pretty graphs, do all kinds of analysis and whatnot. I have so much pressure now to basically turn what I do, which takes hours. Now AI basically can generate, financial reports. So the pressure of, at my age to basically learn how to use AI to basically generate financials, which could take, a week, turn that into a couple hours. So that component is a big deal now.
Absolutely. Word of the day, gentlemen. Remember. So I wrote that for a couple of reasons. One, remember who helped get you to where you are. This gentleman here, I'll never forget him. Remember who was influential. Who inspired you? Who influenced you enough to be successful?
Right.
And remember when you failed and you moved on. Unfortunately, in this world, from what I see, not you included, but people hold on to the failures. Instead of just learning from them, moving on from them, they hang on to those failures, and it's terrible.
Guilty.
Yeah.
I actually, sidebar, so when I was younger, my buddy, when you're coming up, you try to be kind, you try to be liked and whatnot, but as you get into positions of power, sometimes you rub people the wrong way. You don't even realize it. Next thing you know, people are pissed off at you.
Yeah, I know that.
He created a list. It's a true story. I hope he watches this and we cut this out. But he created a list of here's everybody who does not like Mark list.
Oh, shit.
And I can call him up right now. He'd be like, yeah, I'll give you the top 5 people right off the bat. So, yeah. And I still remember to this day every bad I remember. Every good is I assume, but everything bad, I don't forget. It still burns me.
Clive, you got a good remember?
On technical?
On anything. Remember?
I can, what boggles the mind is I remember when I got my first pager and I would have to pull over on the side of the road to respond to phone calls. And I was a sales and service rep based out of Nashville, Tennessee. And I learned very quickly when it was raining, you always knew where to find the payphones that had the longer cords that you could reach them into the car window.
That's awesome.
That's great. Remember, love it. Love it. That's so true.
I'm dating myself for sure.
We're all dating ourselves on this show, that's for sure. Networking tip, for me, become a brand name for your product. I mean, it happened organically, becoming Eddie Pods. Serious. It happened organically. But if you have a brand and you believe in your brand, you should be the brand. Act like the brand, be the brand, speak the brand.
I mean, you even got an email.
I even have an email, Eddie Pods, But what about you? You got a networking tip?
Again, networking tip, and I give a lot of credit to you. Don't be afraid to just get out there. We say this over and over. Ed is unbelievable. This man, I could dump you in the middle of a bunch of CFOs that you have nothing in common with, and I'm sure you'd come out no problem.
Have one lead for an IF.
Oh, for sure. Me, you could dump me in, and I got to grind it through. But you know what? I always think, what would Ed do?
What would Ed do? I love that.
So my networking tip, what would Ed do?
What would Ed do? What about you, Clive? You got a networking tip?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I do. People buy from people they like. That's
100%.
it.
That's it.
There's no easy way. And the old saying about people to network. I sell solutions, or I sell we can help you fix this, or we can help you fix that. That has almost become so cliche these days because you look at any corporate site or anybody, it's at a trade show, the word solutions is somewhere entwined in their pitch or in their sales campaign or somewhere along there. We solve solutions, and really that's a good salesperson that can do that. But a great salesperson, they sell feelings. If you can make somebody feel good, they will want to have another conversation with you again. And it's just a case of people buy from people they like. And so don't be an ass. Get out there. Be there. You don't necessarily have to be their friend, but you've got to sell feelings that they want to talk to you again, that you can work with them and you understand them. That's the game changer.
For me, Clive, and I always know this because I take, dozens of calls every day. The longer the call, the more I know I'm going to close this deal. The longer the call, because they want to keep talking. They want to keep going, and I'm more than happy to kick back, let them think I am listening to everything they have to say, listening to their concerns, their this and that, and I know if they choose Pods, I don't have to worry about them calling the office. They're going to call me.
I tell you, every now and then a guest says something that sticks with you.
Sure.
And this is going to be one of those things that we're going to reference Clive for the next several shows, because what you say is you want to sell feelings. That is so spot on, and that's almost probably like when any salesperson that you're training almost saying, doesn't matter what you're selling,
Right.
You're selling feelings, and that's a tremendous statement right there. You got me inspired right now.
There you go.
I was talking to one of our franchises, and I was trying to explain the concept of selling feelings. I go, so what do you sell? And he was like, well, we sell containers, and I offer a solution, and we do this. I go, great, that's wonderful. Take it up 20,000 feet. And he got confused. I said, okay, let's make it easier. Take it up 50,000 square feet. Square feet. It's 50,000. And once I explained it to him, the whole feelings concept, I go, you got to take a broader look of what it is. And when you walk in to meet with someone and you're talking with them, you're not there to sell them a container today. You're there to solve a problem for tomorrow. It's a long play, and sometimes being in a secondary position is much stronger being a primary position, because whoever's in primary screws it up, you're there to pick it all up.
There you go.
So you treat those people in secondary just like they're primary, and your sales funnel is just constantly flipping, getting thicker and thicker.
Very cool, very cool. All right, best business decision of the week. For me, I had 5 days off last week, and I worked a minimum of 1 hour every day so that when I came back on Monday, I could take half a day to come do this podcast and not feel like I shortchanged my job, didn't work hard, didn't put leads out there. I literally went in for an hour plus every day, except my birthday. And when I walked into the office, I was all caught up this morning at 4:30. I was in about 5:15, all caught up and ready to start fresh. And I killed it for the first 4 hours. And then I came here, and I, no guilt, no shame, closed 3 IF deals, and I rocked it.
We're very similar.
Yeah.
So just, happen to be a big WWE fan.
Yes, you are.
One of the things that Nick Khan, who's the CEO of, I don't know if TKO or WWE, but one of the things that Nick Khan said is they won't hire anybody who puts an away message. A little controversial or whatnot, but I was just in Marco Island last week. No one would even know. I'm on calls. I was on a call from the hot tub.
I believe it.
Yeah, well, it's a little ridiculous. Last night, worked till 12:15. So my Monday stuff on a typical person would be there on a Monday. I'm already
up to Tuesday.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's and because part of this whole podcast is we're grinders.
Yeah.
And if anything, when we go back to the beginning, this is what we do, how we get ahead. I wish I had 175 IQ. Unfortunately, I don't think I do.
Same here.
But the only way I can stay ahead is by outworking, and this is what we've talked about from a sales, from a work, from a finance, every perspective is we're workers, and this is what we do. Vacation or no vacation.
The best part for me is my wife totally gets it. She loves the life we have right now. She knows it's from my grinding. Never gets in the way. Oh, what can I do to help?
Right.
You need lunch, you need dinner, I'll disappear for a few hours, I'll go shopping, spend your money, whatever it is, what do you need? And I'm grateful that I have that. What about you, Clive? Best business decision of the week?
Other than joining you guys today?
Yes, other than that.
I would say, I have to agree with both of you. When I go on vacation, I always, unless I'm on an international cruise and I can't log on to, email, and I'm on a desert island, I try to put 1 hour in the morning before everybody gets up to get caught up with email. And then before we go to dinner, or if we're cooking dinner I'll make myself a nice glass of wine or a bourbon and just clean up the email, just stay on top of it. And you can always file it away for a follow-up file to get back to it, but it just keeps everything relevant. And then when you come back, it's not like, okay, what do I got to catch up on?
Where do I start?
Right.
It's fresh in your head, and you've made notes, and you're ready to go, and you can tackle it. And what takes some people, the average Joe, 3 days to catch up, I can get knocked out in a period of a couple of hours and get going. And my role is also operation driven. So there's a lot of other factors than just the sales side.
Right. Operations doesn't sleep.
They don't stop because you're on vacation. Right. That's for sure.
Right.
The one thing I will say, the difference between sales and operations, which is kind of a unique, interesting scenario. After being in operations, I look at sales now through a very different lens of what I did when I was just a pure sales guy. I look at it from a different, how does it affect the operator more than how does it affect the customer experience? So that will help me leverage what I'm pitching, how I'm pitching it, and the information flow of where that's going. but it's all about, having that information ready to go. It's not rocket science.
I got to jump in there because in my world, because we work in the similar world, one of my greatest assets is knowing I rely on operations. There's no two ways about it.
Right.
And either you could be an asshole and have no friends, or you could be a good guy that everyone's willing to bend a little when you really, really need it.
Yep.
I ain't a boy who cried wolf. I only go to the mat when it's needed. I deflect for the ops team. No, the calendar's closed, we'll wait. I hear that pain in their voice, I'll pick up the phone and make a call. But having been taught, you got to have your relationships in operations. I have hundreds of them all around the country, only used when needed. And when I need it, 9 out of 10 times they come through for me because of it.
And that would be a good lesson for any junior salesperson as far as how you develop.
Absolutely.
Because a lot of times sales naturally has kind of a push and pull with ops and finance. And how you manage that internal relationship is almost as important as how you manage your customer relationship.
For me, it is. Without operations, I have no job.
Right. Well, there you go.
One other thing I'd recommend too, if you've got any of your followers or listeners that partake of these podcasts, if you're in a medium-sized company and you have access in your field sales or your field sales management or sales leadership, if you have access to the CFO, schedule 30 minutes and ask them about their job. Ask them what they do. Get an understanding, because if you can understand the finance side of the business when you're out there representing it, it will drastically open your eyes to deeper levels of the organization and profit margins and where you can and where you can go and where you shouldn't go. But it also puts you in a very, very strong light with senior management, because I'll guarantee you that CFO is going to tell the CEO, guess who came into my office wanting an overview and understanding of what we do and how it affects him. And I did that when I was at Pods, and it made a huge difference. I had my challenges with the CEO. I won't lie about that.
Won't go there.
I'll just say, Clive,
good stuff.
You're spitting such heartwarming knowledge, because as a CFO for 20 plus years, I've taken a role where I've basically instructed, groomed, but anytime anyone would come in and sit with me, I was always try to be transparent with numbers. That would be somebody that I was like, okay, that's somebody on the come up right away.
Right.
And that I couldn't, what you just said, I would repeat that. It would be the first, someone walked into a job, it would be the first thing I'd say is, don't be scared of talking to senior management or understanding. Ask questions.
I laugh when I go to Florida. Senior management calls me Eddie Potts. Not kidding, Clive. They do.
The company's changed. It's not the way it used to be. That's for sure.
No.
All right. They should call and say, thank you. Hi, Eddie Potts.
Thank you. Hi, Eddie Potts. Thank you. All right. Big win of the week. You said yours before. My big win of the week is having you here on this show. I didn't think you'd ever come, but I'm really happy you're here. For me, it's a big win. Glad you're here, brother.
Hey, big win. Listen, SEM Holdings, we bootstrapped this business. We just went into our 5th year of business, and knock on wood, all on our own, with the team. We just turned to a profitable business, and I'm very excited. It's hard, it's challenging, it's stressful, but it's a lot of fun, and taking this opportunity, taking this risk is one of the best things that I've done.
Cool. Big win, Clive?
Just the same things we've just been talking about. It's, taking the risks and running with the ball and going with it. And don't be afraid to make that jump. If you don't make it, no one's going to make it for you.
No one is going to make it for you. Yep.
So we're done with all that fun stuff. Now we're just going to jump in some casual conversation. You came from Penske, is that correct?
Budget. I was budget car and truck rental, and I started as a sales manager in the truck division, and worked my way up, creating positions wherever I went. That's the old saying, is the best position is the one you create yourself and you don't interview against.
Right.
All the way up to vice president of sales. I went from having 0 direct reports to the most I ever had on my complete staff, probably about 120. With 12 direct reports.
It's funny, Clive, you're you bring your people with you. I've learned that about you. Mark is the same way. Mark has had more endeavors in the past 10 years, and wherever he goes, he brings his men.
I like to travel with trust.
Yeah, it's funny. We were talking before the podcast, having a brief conversation. And, when it comes to recruiting and bringing people on, if I can bring somebody with me that I know this guy thinks the way I do, and doesn't even always have to think the way that I do, but I know when someone says to me, "Oh yeah, I want the job. I will shoot through the wall for you. Just tell me." Well, that's great, but really, if I want someone that's going to do that, I want someone to tell me how fast do you want to get on the other side. That's where you look. You can't teach attitude, and I can go back to Eddie as a prime example. When he interviewed with us, and it was the Islanders, right? The hockey.
Yep.
Yeah, and he didn't have any logistics experience or transportation, but I thought to myself, man, if this guy can sell sponsorships in a hockey thing, and he lives in New York, that's an attitude I can't teach. I can't teach that level of hunger and the level of commitment that I want to do that. I can teach a product, and I can teach you process, but I can't teach attitude. That's just one thing I can't do. And Eddie and I had our dances when we worked together, but it takes a certain personality selling Long Island. I mean, they got their hand signals, and we all know what that is when they get going.
So I was telling Johnny on the ride in today, Clive, and this is a true story, and if he doesn't remember it this way, it's all good. I came upon a national account that I knew was a national account, but I wasn't a national account guy, but I tried to make a move, met the people, worked it all up. When I finally brought it to the table, he's like, "No, it's a national deal." And I'm like, "Yeah, but I put all the work in and blah, 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 blah." And he's like, "No." The end of it. Following week, our one-on-one took place. I brought it up again. Turns to me and he says, "All right, enough already. You want Philadelphia?" I said, "Huh? You want the Philadelphia territory?" "Yeah." "All right, we're good. Have a nice day." And it was over. He knew I felt slighted. He knew I wanted something. He gave me something to shut me the fuck up, but he gave me something that was more valuable than what I gave up.
Right.
He was smart enough to realize that I was that hungry. He threw me another territory.
And it was good for him.
100% it was good for him.
Yeah.
But, and again, that's when you see a leader say, all right, he has somewhat of a little point here, let's throw him a bone. You know what that makes people, like you just said, how fast am I going to go through that wall in Philadelphia? I was in Philadelphia the next week connecting. You know what I'm saying? Like,
that's true. I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Right now, you're with units. For my edifice, the biggest difference between the two, besides management, but the biggest difference between the two?
The difference between the two, well, yeah, the management is totally different. Pods, what's unique is that you're able to go after, we would go after a brand remodel or a retail remodel for the Apple stores, electronic stores. And we rolled out all new point of sale materials, the counters, the iPhone cases, all the cords that hold the iPads, all that crap. And it was based out of Chino Hills, California. And the deal, it took us probably 40 days to get the deal from start to close. So it was a pretty quick turnover. Yeah. But it was worth $500,000.
Nice.
And we were able to coordinate that with corporate account managers, national guys, and we built a very structured, scalable team at Pods that was never there when I first got there. I mean, they were like caveman and sticks. I mean, so we put a lot of infrastructure with the regional guys, the national guys, the commercial account coordinators, things that they'd never ever heard of that I'd utilized in my past business. Now, fast forward over to unit side. When I went over there after my non-compete for Pods, after we parted ways, which they paid me very well to sit on the sidelines, but as soon as that was expired, units came and approached me, would I come on board and help them with national accounts? And they didn't have any national accounts at the time. And within the first 4 to 5 months, I think we sold 11 or 12 just by people that I knew in the industry. Then the opportunity came over to go into the operations side to help them. But with everything in units being locally owned and operated, that's their mantra. Where Pods would have taken that as a negative, I turned it into being a positive when we were selling the national accounts. It's all in how we can all have different product lines, but it's all in how you position it when you're presenting it, what's a positive and what's a negative, and your level of passion. But units is very, very, very franchise oriented. It's not centrally located. It's a very, very different animal. And I know where you can play well and where you cannot play well. And if it's a big product rollout, when you get all independent owners and they can't agree to what the pricing's going to be, that's a problem.
Right. Question.
Well, yeah, I don't know if you can get into this, but why did you leave Pods? Seemed like you had a pretty good run there. You just
No.
Oh, I can't get into that. Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay.
Go ahead.
That's okay.
I didn't want him.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Okay.
Go ahead. Go right ahead.
I had a great run at Pods, and I had a really stellar sales team. I mean, studs, animals, just great. And then we had females on the staff too, so it wasn't just guys. And I had a couple of young ladies that were very, very good. And we had a SVP that came on board, and no one could get behind him. And he just no one would listen to him, and he was having challenges, and he didn't have the business acumen within this industry, and it was starting to show. So he had to make an example out of somebody, and because my department was the highest ahead with the biggest numbers, he had the least opportunity of going backwards. When you're running 47% ahead over a prior year, and things are just clicking along like a machine. So they purposely went around looking for things to harpoon, and that's corporate management. I get it. I look back now, it was probably a saving grace, but they paid me very well to sit on the sidelines and go over. It was very bitter at the beginning. I can tell you that.
It was bitter, and there are some like myself who, I got to see the aftermath of this big new way we're going, and honestly, it's 7 years. We're still trying to find that way. We haven't found it. We haven't. I'm just being bluntly honest. I wish I had leadership that I believe was strong and I could rally behind, and I just continually shake my head, do my own thing, and just keep my head in the weeds. As Clive would always says, the less I hear about you, the better. And that's true in the corporate world. And I play to that mantra, but I wish it was different.
Clive, you came up you said you came up from the sales side. What was your experiences that kind of developed? Like, you seem like a very seasoned senior salesperson, sales executive. How did you get, what were some of the experiences that drove this and that you learned from this? Where were some of these past things that got you to where you're at? Because you're spitting a lot of knowledge here today.
It's that's a real interesting question, Mark. When I was in downtown sales, Chicago, and I lived down in Lincoln Park. I mean, I was in the heat of the city, and we opened up brand new locations. And my first sales for budget truck rental was the mayor's office of special events, and that was like the Taste of Chicago's Blues Fest, Jazz Fest, and I mean, we would have 500 trucks on site, all parked up and down Lakeshore Avenue. Down at Grant Park, just for the event. So when the helicopters flew over every night of the news, and this was a month going on, there was nothing like budget truck. I mean, it was just, as far as you could see, it was just budget trucks all over. And that type of deal really kind of got my career in motion, where I really started liking, man, I like this winning thing. This is cool. And I just always leveraged every opportunity, especially if it was something that was going to be in the public's eyes, where the vehicles could be seen, where I could go with that. Now, when I went to Orlando, I went there with the same mantra of selling that I did in Chicago. Well, guess what happened? It was a disaster.
Different
I couldn't
market.
sell anything. For the first 90 days, it was just a failure. I'm going around and I'm trying to use the same style as my Chicago style, and it didn't work. So I locked myself in the office for probably 48 hours, 2 days, just trying to really think about, what am I doing wrong? Where am I at? Well, first of all, when I looked in the mirror, I was dressed like a Chicago sales guy. I'm in Orlando, Florida. Okay, you got to dress accordingly to where you're at.
100%.
Of course, when you make sales in Florida, the running joke is you wear, if you get invited to a wedding, you wear dress flip-flops, not your everyday flip-flops. But, it's based on where you're at. And I looked, at my key verticals, what I was going after, and I was going after cabinet companies, I was going after these, and I'm like, wait a minute, what's my top industry in Orlando, Florida?
Entertainment.
What's the top industry? What am I doing wrong? It's tourism. I totally changed my sales appetite and direction, calling on hotels, restaurants, theme parks, Nickelodeon, Universal's, Walt Disney World, MGM, you name it. I mean, I became the film production specialist for all cars and trucks in Central Florida. I did all the major movies with Tom Hanks, Jodie Foster. I mean, it goes on and on and on. I mean, I can't tell you, Dustin Hoffman. I mean, I met all these guys, and it's. But I was just adjusting to where it is, and you got to have those key verticals of what you're going after. One of the biggest things I've seen a salesperson failure. They go out and they try to boil the ocean, and they go out, I'm going to make all these sales calls and all that. You got to define who you're going to call on, and you really only need 8 key verticals. So let's say it's park and rec, restoration, renovation, schools, tourism, maybe it's marinas, maybe it's sports teams. Every market's a little bit different. And you stay within those 8 segments till you build your portfolio. And as your portfolio builds, you don't have to have the same verticals. They can change seasonally. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just honing that focus of what you're going to go after.
I always wondered where I got this from, and now that I'm hearing it, I'm having a flashback. When any management comes to me, and it happens every time I get a new manager, which is basically every 2 years, where's your business coming from? And I turn to them and I say, it's a pizza. And there are 8 slices in the pizza. Some have pepperoni, some have sausage, but there are 8 slices in my wheel of where all my business, I never realized it was coming, that came from you. Well, this is where your business from. Let's get into these verticals. Let's be part of this.
So Clive, would you say it's different selling in Chicago versus San Francisco versus New York?
Your verticals and your approach. The sales process is still the same. You're selling feelings, you're selling people, you're trying to generate that relationship to get to that next conversation. How you get to that conversation might tweak and adjust. I mean, I could never sell in New York like Eddie does because I don't have that personality. Eddie couldn't sell like me like I do in Florida because he doesn't have my personality. It's not saying that one is wrong and one is right. It's about finding the right person in the right part of the country in the right role. It's interesting. I had conversations with folks in HR departments, and they would say, well, we're going to post for a sales job, and we want to get someone that's got a master's degree, and they got to have this, and they got to have that. And I was sitting there listening. They're like, so Clive, what do you think? And I said, I'm not really impressed. They go, what do you mean? And I'm like, we're hiring regional guys. And these guys got to be hungry. They got to know how to get dirty. They know how to, I need scrappers. I need people that are not going to say no, they're going to say yes. I go, to make it even simpler for you, I'd be happy with someone with a degree at a junior college and was captain of the flag football team who can rally a group, doesn't mind getting dirty, knows how to lead, knows how to win, but yet knows how to celebrate with beers and wings after the fact to build the team. And that's what you need. It isn't always about having this. No, and I'm not saying don't hire anyone with MBAs. I've had plenty of people that work with me that have had MBAs and work great. But it all depends on the role you're hiring for and what you're looking. It's getting that right person in there. And when it comes into being a sales warrior, you got to know how to get dirty. You got to know how to be a team player. You got to know how to think on your feet, call an audible in the air, and have the guts to call that and know that your team member down the field is going to pick that ball off and take you to the promised land.
Fantastic.
Isn't that,
I'm
so spot
inspired.
on, man.
Yep, I got nothing to say. Yeah, I
so
agree. Yeah.
We come to our last 2 questions, but before we get to our last 2 questions, best Clive Throne event. 75-foot catamaran, full-service bar, foods on the Gulf of Mexico for the legal team, the accounting team, the sales, the whole shebang. It was like
Gulf of what?
75 of us.
Gulf of where?
Mexico.
America?
Oh, I'm sorry. Gulf of America, excuse me.
Yeah.
Still haven't topped that, Clive. But you get the last
yeah.
question, second to last question. I get the last.
So, Clive, very impressive. Thank you very much for being with us today. It's, a lot of the stuff you say really resonates with me from my experiences. You've done a lot. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years?
Probably pretty close to retirement. I do have my sales consulting business already set up. I've got my license in the state of Florida. I've got my checking account set up. I got my savings account set up all through the business. I've got business cards made up. I would recommend to anyone that is in sales world to, if you're good, consider that as an opportunity down the road, and set it up prior. Have it go and have some experiences, because every time you do bring a client on, I learned something, either the better way to do it, or I could write a book on the way not to do it because of what I experienced. But I think those are the type of things you go through, and that's where I see myself. I will always do something in sales related. I actually met an individual that owns an HVAC company, and they approached me about setting up a sales training course for their drivers, that after they've done an install, to how to do upsells on better thermostats and warranty programs. And we've just had preliminary conversations. They're based in South Carolina. But it dawned on me, I'm like, man, I got skills that I could share that sometimes, you kind of take for granted. You don't think about it, of what you bring to the table. And one of the things I did want to add to this about the sales warrior, because I'm sure you've got people that are listening to this that are in sales management. One of the things that made me very, very successful over the years is I wasn't the VP of sales. I wasn't just the sales leader. I looked at myself as the guy that runs the Pony Express. And you remember the old Pony Express movies in the in the Wild West? They had the team of horses, and they had the cart. And I ride on top of the wagon. And each of my top sales guys is one of those horses in that team. And it's sort of like, I got a plan. That's my luggage. And I got to get that goal from January to December 31st. And we've got to hit that target, and we'd like to hit the target early and make a little excess of beating the target. So when you have these team of horses, loose horses run fast, sort of like race cars. The looser the car is, the faster it's going to go. The problem is loose horses run out of control. So my job was to keep the team loose, fast, and keep everybody in line. So if somebody goes out of line, click them back in line and keep them on the road, and make sure we deliver it. Because if that wagon goes over and your horse is scattered, you got a real problem, because you got to get it all built back, and then you don't have the time to rebuild it because the year's gone. So I think if you keep, for me, that's how I looked at it, and I've shared that analogy with many speaking engagements in the past, and people really like that. They get it, especially good sales managers or sales leaders are like, that's a really interesting observation.
So our guest last week, Brian Brooks, I met at a conference in North Carolina, a Relo conference. 3 days of getting to know this gentleman. By the end of the 3 days, he booked me to come and give in the chapter, there's a chapter about trade shows. He wanted me to come in and speak to his staff on what they should and shouldn't be doing before and after trade shows. And it was my first paid speaking engagement. He also bought everyone a book, so that when I came in for this Zoom call, they'd have a little background on me. And it was my first time, and I was pretty proud of myself. He got a lot out of it, and I connected with most of his staff on LinkedIn, who reached out to tell me, hey, I didn't know about this and that, and thanks for coming. So I see myself going in that similar direction of consulting, sharing, helping others. If I could turn it into a part-time career that makes a few bucks, that's what I'm hoping for. Last question, Clive, then we got to wrap. If you could have dinner with anyone, past or present, alive or dead, Who would you like to sit down and have dinner with?
You know, I can't believe I was just having this conversation the other day. You know who I'd really like to sit down with would be Pierce Brosnan, the old James Bond guy.
Yeah.
Sure. Remington Steele.
Remington Steele.
He has reinvented himself so many times as an actor, and his characters he's played, and he's got a great personality. He's good with people. He just seems to be someone I think I would really like to talk to, and to connect with. You know, one of the reasons I say that, when I left Pods, you know, I'd been a VP of sales for years over at Budget Truck Rental and over at Pods, Portable On Demand Storage, and my first sales gig when I got out of there was doing a consulting turnaround project for Rev Group for Setra bus lines. And Setra is a manufacturer of Daimler-Benz. And it's a Mercedes bus, and they had a branding problem in the Southeast. They didn't have a sales rep. They'd not had anyone there representing years. They had parts problems. They had all kinds of issues. So I agreed to a one-year gig to go on. I was still in my non-compete, so we came across a comp package that worked pretty good. The first 6 months, I worked for a young man who had dabbled in sales, but he was going into the marketing side, and he was going to be my supervisor, many years my junior. And I tried to kind of deal with it, and every time I turned around, he'd step in it. Every single time, he was just a failure. And they finally moved him out completely, and I was now reporting to the head guy that hired me. And I said to him, and I'll never forget it, I said, "Dwayne, can we start doing it my way now?" And he goes, "What do you mean?" And he goes, "I thought we were doing it your way." I said, "No." I go, "My way was overrun," and I kept my mouth shut, following, you know, protocol. And within 6 months, I became the #1 sales rep in the territory. And the reason I share that, there was a huge change from going a sales leader to being an individual contributor. And if you can maneuver between those two and stay humble enough and hungry enough and follow those verticals and follow your CRM and follow that, the opportunities will there. But it's all a game of numbers and hunger.
Clive, it's been a real pleasure to have you on as a guest. Is there someone you'd like to promote? Want to get your name out there for consulting? You want to give us an email, a website, something?
You know, right now, if anyone's on here that feels they'd be interested to have a conversation, I would be more than to reach out to get my contact information. I'd be more than open to have a call. I'm not ready to hang out a shield, assigned full time yet.
Okay.
Just because I've got commitments over at units that I've committed to.
Sure.
But then again, if the right opportunity presents itself,
You never know.
Never know.
That's how it goes.
I'm not a fool.
How are we reaching you?
Mark Simpson, SEM Holdings, all your outsourced loss prevention needs, 917-414-4027.
I am Eddie Pods, your host. You can get me at eddiepods@gmail.com. You need anything from coming to rev up your team before a trade show or a conference, or you need an IF move from here to Los Angeles. Either way, I get the job done. Thank you all for being here. Clive, we're out. It was great to talk to you. Stay safe, my friend.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.